Now on page 2, second bar, you've got, if you like, the second verse, and you've got a change in the riff. It's the same sort of idea, it's the same thing over and over again, but this time we descend. Go down all the way, go down all the way from this note, third fret of the E, down to the third fret of the D, and just come back up to the open G. So the notes for the second verse, second riff, if you like, 3E, 1E, 3B, 2B, 1B, 3G, open G, 3D, open G. Now the first riff only used 2 strings. This one uses 4 strings, the E, the B, the G and the D. Very straightforward fingering, third fret third finger, second fret second finger, first fret first finger, and the picking I'll again do the cross picking. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, 2, 3, 4. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And the chords change the same just behind it. So you've got 6 of those. On the very last one you do this. You run up O, 2, 3 on the D, and that finishes the tune off really nicely. And there is a different chord on the end, there's a G7. Let's go from the second bar of page 2 where that second riff starts. So you've got this G behind it, still G, change to C, back to G, change to D, go to C, back to G, nice chord on the end, nice little clash, isn't there? So that second verse, the G chord, C chord, all the same as the first verse, but you go to a G7 on the end. So that second riff goes like that, 3, 4. Okay, so you get the idea of that, and you get 6 of those. That sounds pretty good. It's 4 beats of the bar. We know that from the 4/4. That's those 2 thick number 4s at the beginning of the first line of tablature. 4 beats, 4 counts to each bar. And let's have a quick look at the chords. For a start, the chord boxes are quite interesting because they are the old-fashioned type of chord boxes. Unfortunately, the tablature program that I use only generates this type of old-fashioned chord box, but it's as well to understand it. And basically, what you've got there, if you look at the G major chord there, just above the second line of tablature, the lines that come down are the strings. The lines that go across are from top to bottom the nut, first fret, second fret, third fret, fourth fret, that kind of idea, and the black dots are your fingers. So there's your G chord, and it's first finger behind the second fret of the A, second finger behind the third fret of the thick E string, third finger behind the third fret of the little E string. And you could just go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up in each bar. That's absolutely fine. If you want to make that a little bit more interesting, move your finger from the second fret of the A to the second fret of the D. I don't know if you can see that moving backwards and forwards. Look. That gives you that kind of boogie-woogie sort of blues feel. Right, the C major chord is first finger, first fret of the B, second finger, second fret of the D, third finger, third fret of the A. You mustn't strum, or try not to strum, the bass E string. In those chord boxes, if there's a little O on top of the string, it means it's open. And if there's a cross on top of it, it means you shouldn't strum it. So you can see in that C major chord, you shouldn't strum the thickest string, the one on the far left. Don't forget the strings in these boxes are going north to south, up and down the page if you like. And you've got an open G and an open E. And again, you can add that interesting element. This time you're going to move the second finger from the second fret of the D to the second fret of the G, backwards and forwards. Give you that boogie-woogie feel. Back to the G, same idea. Now when it goes to the D major chord, okay, that's the last line of tablature on the first page, you've got 2 strings that are crossed out, so you mustn't play the thick E or the A string. The D string is open, and you've got your first finger on 2G, second finger on 2E, third finger on 3B. You should have really learnt this chord with me before. And by the way, the other two chords, the G major and the C major, are the proper advanced versions of the chords. They're not sort of the baby versions, and you really should try and make an effort to learn those. On the D major, don't do the boogie woogie thing. If you were to do it, it would be little finger on 4G, like that. But that, in fact, don't do it because it does clash with the tune. Just play the D chord for one bar. Just go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. As soon as it changes to the C, you can do your boogie woogie thing. G, D, 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 page 2. Now, when it goes to the D chord, that's the first bar of page 2, halfway through that, or second beat of the bar. You go to that chord with an upstroke off the beat, and we call that syncopation. Syncopation is putting an accent on a weak part of the bar. So don't play any rhythm over the intro, let the intro go. And then you've got G, G. If there's nothing written, it's still the same chords. G, so there's 4 bars of G. G. Change to C, 2 bars of C, back to G for 2 bars, 1 bar of D, no boogie woogie rhythm, 1 bar of C with the boogie woogie, change to G, and change to the D, so go on that first bar of page 2 to G, down, up, and leave a gap and come back in again. The G major, this time the other guitar's going. Doing the second riff, you're doing G, 4 bars of G, much the same, exactly the same in fact. Change to C major. That's G major. We just call it G and C and D. You don't have to call them G major, C major, D major. D major, remember no boogie woogie. C major, here's the end of the song. G major. And then we change to G7. And G7, quite a stretchy old chord, just between you and me. You could just put your first finger on the first fret of the E and just play top 4 strings. If you can do the 2A and the 3E as well, it's nice. And what I often do is if I'm changing from G major to G7, I re-finger the G major. I use finger 2 on the A, finger 3 on the bass E string, little finger on the high-pitched E string, so I can go do this. Look. So there's G major. If I lift my little finger up, put my first finger behind the first fret of the E, I've got G7. Good way of changing. Otherwise you've got to turn the entire thing round like this, which obviously can be done, but it's quite tricky. We are talking about fairly advanced rhythm here, especially if you are a junior school student, so don't worry too much about the chords, but they're quite fun to do if you can do them. So that is the G blues. Check out the track, listen to the track, play along with it. One thing I should say is that this is what's known as a 12-bar blues. The 12 bars start when the main tune comes in. So if you like, this intro is 2 bars. Okay, if you like, consider that as bars 11 and 12 of a previous verse. And the 12 bars actually start when you do your first riff. So I'll count the bars out as I'm playing the track, it's probably easier. So let's go here. So I'm going to count it out, I'll do the rhythm as I do it. So here's your first bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now bar 5, so the C comes in. 6, 7, 8, 9 is where the D chord is. 10, 11, 12, and then the second verse you start again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, what the C major is. Bar 6, back to the G for bar 7. Bar 8, bar 9 is where the D is. Bar 10, bar 11, bar 12. So you've got a 12 bar blues, literally 12 bars of counting 4 in each bar, 2 verses, so that gives you 24 bars, and you've got 2 little bars of intro, so you've got a total of 26 bars with 4 counts in each bar. You might be interested in my guitar I've got here. It's a 1980 Gibson J200 acoustic. As you can see, it's a pretty big guitar, rather nice. It's a bit bashed up, but it's got a lovely feel to it, a lovely tone, and I hope you enjoyed today's lesson.